so many different things going on. This is not a good representation of personality types, but I just wanted to, because I said I was going to touch on sacred geometry and just to show how that, I might not have enough for everybody.
We'll share.
Okay.
Sophie and I can share.
Okay, and
You need one for you.
yeah. Right. See, the thing with this is to just say, this is 12 points, right? And I'm going to go along with the consensus of the ages that there are 12 different basic personality types. And I know that here, you guys know a lot more about personality types than I do because you use them in your management with Briggs-Myers and stuff like that, don't you? And I yesterday just did this really quick on the way over here. So this is 12 points, right? Which is 3 squares or 4 triangles. 3 squares or 4 equilateral triangles. That's on the external one, right? So the 4 squares represent thinking, feeling, and sensate people. I sort of left intuition out, intuitive people, and put that together with the thinking and feeling. And then I used Jung's thing for introvert and extrovert, passive and aggressive. So, wow, you made it over here.
Yes.
So, and each one of the triangles is extrovert, introvert, passive, or aggressive. And then that way, I just was playing with these. This is kind of something like you could play with yourself and sort of see, But just to get an idea, like there are thinking introverted people, right? There are feeling extroverted people. There are different kinds of people. Last night at the party, right, there was about 8 people there, right? And very different personality types. And some people, you take things personally because they aren't like responding to you or something like that. If they're a internal, introverted, passive type of person, they're not going to respond to you. It doesn't mean that they don't like you, right? And yet, that's a kind of a thing, is to really realize and understand that there are different personality types. So, not only are there different personality types out in the world, but in terms of this differentiation between self and ego, another misconception is people talk about the ego and they think they only have one, when really you have a multiplicity of egos inside of yourself, maybe thousands of them. My sort of take on this is that as you grow up and you're in different situations, your family, your friends, your school, different situations in school, that you develop a little role. You learn to play a little role in each one of those things. So you allocate a little, you create a little memory system, a little area of psychic energy that that goes on that thing. When you get in that situation again, you will naturally play that role. And so that little person dwells inside of you. And there may be other ways in which you develop these things too. There might even be disincarnate personalities that influence you or something like that. But these are all in you. Now, whenever any one of them comes out, you say, I am happy to be here today talking about Confusionism. I am actually a different person than was at the party last night. That was the party, Alex. And it's like when a policeman pulls me over, then another little self pops out. I am a good citizen. And some of them are nice, and some of them, maybe are a little bit crazy or whatever, that are there. And so it can be confusing for people if they're not open to this and in touch with this, because sometimes, like, I don't know why I did that, or I don't know. I feel, or with other people, it feels like, gee, I thought I knew you, but now you're a completely different person. Well, they were a completely different person than the one that you knew. So I call that passengers on the bus. Hopefully you have a good driver. And the driver can, accommodate all the passengers on the bus. Because if you have a driver who's a dictator, right, and who says, oh no, judges, a part of you comes up and feels a certain way, and they go, oh no, you shouldn't feel that way. go to the back of the bus and shut up. And we're going to pretend that you're not here, right? You know, well, pretty soon, that person who's been relegated to the back of the bus is going to take over the bus. You know?
Start taking hostages.
And when he does, he's going to go, oh, show that guy, you know? It's like go careening down a mountain highway, you know, at 90 miles an hour, you know? And all the other passengers on the bus are freaking out, you know, but he's like, I'm in control now. I don't mean to suggest that you all have multiple personality disorders. This is just a normal thing. So then we just want to talk briefly about nuclear physics and chemistry. Because I'm glad I at least made a list. I didn't make notes. And I think there were other things that I wanted to say, but you know, it's good that I forgot them all. You know, nuclear physics tells us that there are three basic different kinds of force, right? Gravity, electromagnetism, and the nuclear force. The strong force that holds together the nucleus of the atom. So I would say we can use those as metaphors for relationships. I usually leave out gravity, but I would say an example of gravity is like, you know, somebody, a billionaire moves to town and a lot of people start to circulate around him. You know, there's no real chemistry there, you know, and they haven't really bonded, but it's like people are attracted to them because they have a lot of money. Famous people. And just also the way, just like, you know, Einstein explained, you know, some things about, you know, gravity having to do with the shape of the spine, the shapes of the space-time continuism, and things flow. There's a flow to society too, right? Where we're in a lot of relationships that are not, where there's no chemistry, and we haven't really gone through a bonding process, but we naturally relate to those people. So we live in a field of relationships based upon gravity. Electromagnetism, here I'll just kind of like talk about chemistry because chemical relationships are electromagnetic, you know, based upon the valences of things. So that's what a lot of people talk about when they talk about relationships. You know, it's like you're attracted to a person and there's a chemistry and you have give and take. And, you know, you feel really good, you know, when you enter into that relationship and you develop, you know, a sort of a spherical kind of give and take relationship there. The thing is, you know, I think that's kind of a common model for relationships. Give and take, subject and object, give and take. You know, and as long as the give and take is good, the relationship endures. And that is beautiful. None of these are better than the other, good or bad, you know. The thing is that a lot of times people want to become one in a plus-minus relationship. And you never really become one. You establish a degree of union, but the union is always potentially unstable. For two reasons. One, if the give and take somehow gets interfered with, you know, the relationship will die. And secondly, that if you're, like say a man and a woman, right? And they feel chemistry, and they're attracted to one another, right? Well, it's just like with atoms, right? With atoms, electrons are freely lost. If a stronger positive force kind of comes sailing by, the electrons sail off. You know, it's like the wandering eye of the man. You know, and I'm just like, I really love you, baby, but wow. You know, so, you know, if you really want to become one with something, you need a stronger bond than that. And we know that the core of the nucleus of the atom is a much stronger bond than the relationship between a proton and an electron, right? And this is what the sun taught me. I really like the song, Sing to the Earth, and the earth will hear you. But I say, like, go out to Stewart Mineral Springs, sit by the creek and listen to the water, and the water will speak to you. Or go in that hot sun and jump in the cold creek and come out and stand in the sun, and the sun will speak to you, as it did to me one day, because you come out of 32-degree water and stand in the sun, and it better have something to say. And it's because it's just an amazing experience, right? It's like, wow, you know, and so overwhelming, internal and external, all this light and warmth, and it's like, oh my God. And then, you know, all of a sudden your intuition starts speaking and going, this is the energy that sustains the earth. This is the energy that we eat. This is the energy that